Hi, everybody. Welcome to The Right Side. Doug Billings here with you today on the program. The ramifications of Tuesday vice presidential debate is absolutely amazing, and it continues. And when we juxtapose that against the reaction to the public, the majority of Americans in this country, against how the response from Administrator Biden and Vice Pretender Harris has gone, it's incredible. The radical left liberal movement imploding. Multiple dozens of people now, even people who were Democrats before, trending towards Trump. JD Vance has swayed the nation. Not only did he appear brilliant, articulate, passionate, calm, and polite, he also appeared presidential. And that, above all else, has absolutely struck fear into the hearts of the radical liberal hierarchy. We're going to talk about this, the response to Helena, and the absolute failure of the federal government on your behalf. Ladies and gentlemen, The Right Side with Doug Billings is now upon you. Are you ready? Let's go.
Hey everybody, my name is General Mike Flynn, and I'm here to do a big shout out for my great friend and one of the best in the business, Mr. Doug Billings. Right side with Doug Billings, right side with Doug Billings. Doug is the future of the airwaves when it comes to independent broadcasters and podcasters. He is the new Rush Limbaugh. He's exactly what America needs right now, looking for honesty, looking for wisdom, looking for truth, looking for patriotism. Listen to Doug Billings at Right Side with Doug Billings. God bless you and God bless America, and thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are winning. We're winning, winning, winning. Welcome to The Right Side with Doug Billings. Are you ready?
We are not liberal snowflakes who melt away in the face of tragedy, adversity, and challenge. We are a covenant nation under God, and his divine providence is not dead and it's not gone. It is living within each and every one of you. And you will bring it to life in such a way that the world has never seen before. We never back down. We never give up. We march forward.
All right, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Here we go, The Right Side with you, coming to you from smack dab in the middle of the fruited plain of the United States of America. What a week it has been. Before I get into the program today, we're going to talk about JD Vance, the reaction of the radical left, which has been absolutely glorious to see in so many ways. I want to tell you about Freedom Gold USA. I want you to just get information. This is not a hard sell about trying to get you to hook up with anyone in particular, but I want you to get information. freedomgoldusa.com/Doug. Head over there and get information about how you can diversify your portfolios with gold, silver, and other precious metals over there. freedomgoldusa.com/Doug. Just sign up and get the information that you need. You know, everybody and their brother is doing this, but you get better rates and better deals. I'm telling you, it's Patriot-owned, Patriot-managed. These people are out for your best interest with regards to protecting your money in the era of Harrisomics, right? Bidenomics and Harrisomics and the debacle that has become our economy. Protect yourself. freedomgoldusa.com/Doug. All right, so today, my friends, I am loving every minute of October. I'm loving every minute of what's happening. The state of play in this campaign couldn't be more in our favor, and just at the right moment. It's always been trending Trump, but lately, especially since after this debate that we had on Tuesday night, nothing has been more important to what we're now perceiving than the credible image of the vice presidential candidate, JD Vance. I was among the very first who came out and told you I was pleased with President Trump. I was happy about this choice. And I had said to you, if you recall, that you will be impressed when you see him, especially when he debated. Now, at the time, I thought he was going to be debating Kamala Harris. And it was before, of course, they withdrew. The radical left hierarchy withdrew, took him out, Joe Biden. So I thought he was going to be a Harris-Vance debate, but it turns out to be the Walz-Vance debate, and it was incredible. A complete takedown, a masterclass in how to debate. So up until Tuesday, Vance was unknown by a lot of people. You and I, who follow these things, knew him, of course, and followed him to a degree. But if they had seen him on television, they were still not aware, before Tuesday night, I should say, they were still unaware and they probably had not seen examples of his personality, of his intellect, of his brilliance. He was an unknown. Not to mention the demonstration of his decency, which we saw in full display on Tuesday night. And I told you, again, as soon as Trump picked him, you are going to be impressed. His personality, his intellect, his ability to relate to common people, his ability to debate. And he has that down-home personality. And if you read the book Hillbilly Elegy, of course, you know that. You pick up on that. His folksy, home-style personality really shone brightly on Tuesday night. People like him. They like the guy. And in addition to that, he came off as presidential. He really did. Very impressed with it. I liked it. I thought, as all of you did, that he won hands down and thoroughly so. He proved to us throughout the course of that night that he is capable of being president. Right now, he's capable of doing it. Now, Trump is the guy, but what he did was he established himself as our standard bearer. JD Vance did. He also proved to us that, as I've said, from the moment he was picked, he will be our conservative standard bearer for not only the vice presidential race in 2024, but we're after 2028 and 2032 as well. And JD Vance has proven to us that he is the guy for 2028 and 2032. So the stage is set, really, my friends. The stage is set for a conservative presidency for the next 12 years. We don't become complacent and we don't take all of this for granted, but it's good to see play out on national television the way that Vance did it and the way that he's convinced so many people who might not have had that chance, like you and I, to actually know who or observe who Vance is and who he will be. So the radical left communist socialist, formerly known as Democrat Party, knows this, and they recognize it, and they are terrified of it, absolutely terrified. And it's the reason behind all of their talking heads and their mental explosions and breakdowns on television news and on the radio. It's the reason they're breaking down, because he was so brilliant, and they know it. It reminds us of what I've also been telling you, that we ourselves as conservatives cannot become complacent. We had a good night on Tuesday. We've got great candidates. We have a great campaign. We have everything trending in our favor. But we have to still remember, we have to engage in the system. We have to get involved and do and perform what I call determined patriotism, right? That's to do the hard work of it all. Do the hard work to reclaim our republic from this radical liberal agenda that has cascaded down upon us purposeful chaos and crisis. So be determined in your patriotism. In your county where you live, that's what I'm talking about. Take your eyes off Washington, D.C. and forget that town. Get involved in your county and in your local levels. We do that by working diligently every day within the counties that we live to elect true MAGA conservatives. We remove the rhino candidates. We vet these people, these men and women. If they want the honor and the privilege of having an R after their name on the ballot, we vet them as Republicans. We vet them and we understand where they stand on the issues. And then, after they successfully pass that vetting process, they get to have the R behind their name, and we can have them. They can go register with your county clerk to be on the ballot. That's one way that we begin to weed out the rhino class that has plagued us for so long in our own party and in this country. So another thing, as I reflect on this week, and especially the debate on Tuesday, another thing, President Trump already has a very large lead among Generation Z folks, young people who have been trending towards him for really the duration of this presidential election season. Multiple millions of these kids, the Generation Z group, going towards Trump. But J.D. Vance won over many, many more on Tuesday night and solidified that group for us, really, not only from the Generation Z age group, but from demographics across the board. Most notably, women. I mean, it doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt that the camera loves J.D. Vance. I'm just going to say it. He wooed millions of women voters to the right side by using his baby blues on Tuesday night. Those eyes, and the way he glanced at the camera. He knows he's the man. Tim Walz was wide-eyed like the deer in the headlights. Tim Walz could only wish to be a man. Tim Walz is the poster man of the wussification of the American male. All right. Then you have Tim Walz, in charge, brilliant, calm, cool, collected, passionate, firm, and nice above all else. So JD Vance has now catapulted himself into the spotlight. People know who he is. Multiple dozens of millions of people who didn't know him, again, before Tuesday night, are now incredibly impressed, as we all are. And that's where another part of President Trump's brilliance comes into play. His decision to choose Vance as his running mate is now coming into play here. Vance, look, because of his personality and because of his likability, quite frankly, people like this guy because of his brilliance, because of where he comes from, because of his story, what he's been through. He will now begin to capture voters on both sides of the aisle and the entire Rust Belt of the United States of America. This was primarily why I liked Vance at the very beginning. I had not seen a lot of him, but I had seen enough of him in debates and on television to know that he was good at that. But I also knew first and foremost that he comes from the Rust Belt. And we, conservatives, need that part of the country this election cycle, just as we do in all election cycles. He's going to capture the blue-collar vote and workers throughout the entire country, not just the Rust Belt. From Pennsylvania, Ohio, West Virginia, parts of New York, Indiana, Michigan, Missouri, Wisconsin, voters are going to begin to realize something very important, if they haven't already, that although they may not feel, and this is important, voters across this country, especially undecided and independent voters, although they may not feel overwhelmingly in favor of President Trump or may not overwhelmingly love Trump like we do, they do love and respect JD Vance. And as a result of that, the people who may be on the fence about voting for President Trump will decide and are deciding and have decided to put up with Trump in their own minds. These are the people that may not like the guy, who don't like the mean tweets. You know, those people. We know they're out there, so we're talking about them. But they're deciding right now in this week to put up with Trump and vote for him because they can see into the future now, thanks to what J.D. Vance gave us on Tuesday night. A future that begins not only right now in 2024 with the election of Trump and Vance, but a future that goes through 2028 and 2032, a future that in those years will include J.D. Vance as our conservative standard bearer, a future that will give us President J.D. Vance in the future. That's what we saw. That's what people are beginning to realize. And they're going, you know, didn't think I was going to be able to do this, but I can vote for Trump because it's 4 years and I can now see 8 years of Vance. And I like that. I like that guy. I like what I saw on Tuesday. This is happening. Now, you're not going to see anybody on the left talk about this, obviously, because they can't dare say this out loud. Oh, but believe me, they're having meetings on Skype and on Zoom and on traditional conference calls where they're talking about this exact topic. What are we going to do? Vance is a superstar. He was a rock star. He came out and absolutely nailed it, and they know it. Now, their instructions to the radical liberal media are exactly the opposite. Do everything you can to diminish what we saw on Tuesday night. Do everything you can to make it seem as if Tim Walz won and all of that. You know that. That's what they do. They have meetings to discuss what they're going to say, and you can better believe this is on the table to talk about. Oh, I can't. And Hurricane Helene factors into all of this. The response of the federal government, it all factors into this. I'm going to walk you through it. Great hope in America, ladies and gentlemen. And there's also great hope right here. DougBillings.us is where I always ask you to go to prayerfully consider setting up a recurring monthly donation so that I can continue this program. I never charge you for the program, but I do ask that you kindly head over to DougBillings.us and set up a monthly recurring donation so that I can continue to bring you this program free of charge. All right, much, much more to talk about. J.D. Vance and the crumbling campaign and the crumbling fake enthusiasm of the radical left. Stay with me. I'll be right back. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the set of my show, The Right Side. Hey, want to tell you about beef. Doug's Beef, DougsBeef.com. This is not your ordinary beef. This is prepper beef. If you want to have a supply of protein on hand, I'm talking ribeye, strip steaks, Kansas City and New York strip, and T-bones as well. Doug's Beef, ladies and gentlemen, check it out. Comes to you in freeze-dried packets, shelf life of 25 years. And when you cook this stuff up, I'm telling you, I wouldn't sell it if it wasn't delicious. Awesome stuff. DougsBeef.com. Head over there, take a look at all of the inventory, and stock your shelves with protein, with good tasting stuff. DougsBeef.com, ladies and gentlemen. Check it out. There's the beef. Believe it. For the Republic. Cheers.
The Right Side with Doug Billings.
The Right Side with Doug Billings, coming to you from the fruited plains of America.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, fulfilling the meaning of life by entering into your lives to make differences for the better. That's what I do over here. You're doing the same for me. Thanks for standing with me during these times. I'm glad that you're all out there on the right side. And one of the ways that I try to have your back is that I give you hints, tips, and advice about where to go in this economy. And in America, we all need to be aware that our money, especially the money that we've set aside for retirement and so forth, needs to be protected. You do that really by gold and silver. And the good folks over at freedomgoldusa.com /Doug, by the way, freedomgoldusa /Doug. I want you to get information by going to that website and checking it out. It's not a hard sell. We're not trying to jam anything down your throats here. We're just trying to make you prepared with information and learn how you can take a percentage of your portfolio, their retirement money, your 401k, whatever it may be, to diversify into gold and silver. Now, I know everybody and their brother is talking about gold and silver these days, but the people at Freedom Gold USA are, first of all, Patriot owned. They're professionals. They've been doing this for decades. They will have your back and your best interests at heart. Again, freedomgoldusa.com /Doug, ladies and gentlemen. I've got your back and I know you've got mine. And boy, does JD Vance have our backs, ladies and gentlemen, and did he display that in full force on Tuesday night? The ramifications of this are really just bubbling up and boiling to the surface right now, today, a couple of days after the debate. And another thing that is affecting the way that people are approaching this election and deciding, who to vote for, who has our best interests at heart, and so forth, is the response in the aftermath of this devastation that resulted from Hurricane Helene. Now, the abject failure of this current administration, being headed up by, of course, Administrator Biden and Vice Pretender Harris, what we're seeing is a daily example of real-time abject failure and incompetence. The American people are sick of this, and the response that we see from Biden and Harris sickens us even worse. It's absolutely, for their sake, it's beyond embarrassing. It's simply immoral, their approach to this. It took Biden and Harris 6 full days to come out and get in front of a camera to talk to the public about this event, about this devastation, about this tragedy. And when they did talk about it, they were doing so from either an office in Washington, D.C. or the national FEMA headquarters, not from the areas of devastation. They did not travel to go on site to talk about any of this. Meanwhile, President Trump spending his own money from the campaign, going out, flying Trump Force One and a series of other jets to get to actual areas of devastation and meeting with people. And he did it to bring relief, to bring hope. And that's what leadership is. We saw it. We see it play out. And who among us is not absolutely sickened by the response of Biden and Harris? They did not visit the people whose lives have been affected and in many ways destroyed because of Helene. And yesterday, when Harris took 10 minutes, she took 10 minutes out of her campaign schedule to address the media. She said that the hurricane victims are going to get from FEMA $750. Okay, $750. And I'm laughing only because of because of how pathetic she is. Certainly not laughing at the tragedy. None of us are. We're right there with you, every one of you. But meanwhile, we look at that and, $1 trillion sent to the Ukraine. Just a few days after Helene hit, we've got $560, $600 billion going to Taiwan, and we have had enough. The majority of Americans in this country demand right now, today, that all foreign aid stop. And don't let the warmongering industrial war machine complex, the Uniparty, try to convince you that this is in America's best interest. You know, we can't just stop it. That's not in our best interest. Well, look, we can stop it for a time and reassess where to begin aid again, and we can stop it to take care of our people. Thank you very much. Start giving money to Americans and back to America. If Administrator Biden and Vice Pretender Harris were decent, moral, and patriotic Americans, they would have been embarrassed to speak the way they did about this issue and to bring it up in the way in which they did. The response has been horrible. But they are neither embarrassed. Make sure you know this. They are not embarrassed, nor are they, of course, decent or moral in their practices, in their policies, in their politics, in the way that they believe America should be. There is no morality in that, in their policies, their platform, their politics, in their party. It is a coalition, in fact, of immorality that they represent. They tell us and they show us every day with their words, their actions, their thought processes, what they do in front of the camera and what they do off the camera. Remember, I mean, how can we forget? President Obama, the first one of the radical liberal presidents in our modern era, was the first to say that America has got to be fundamentally transformed. Which is to say they want to transform America away from the divine providence of God and the intent of the founding fathers. That is what they mean when they say that. America, to them, to the radical liberals, is not a land of exceptionalism. America is founded on evil, slavery, and the backs of the oppressed, destruction of indigenous peoples, and so forth and so on. So to transform America is to them to destroy America. We've heard them say it with our own ears. And then they come back and they say also, build back better. They want to build America back. And of course, that's a code. It's like they're not telling you the entire mantra there. Build back better. It sounds so pleasant after all. But they want to build it back better in their image as a communist-socialist nation, a conglomeration of communism and socialism, probably Marxism and fascism, all of the isms. That's what they want America to be. That's why, ladies and gentlemen, again, this is an important point to wrap your head around. They love chaos because they want to transform America. And chaos always breeds crisis. And in the minds of the radical liberal movement in America, chaos and crisis drive people to dependency upon the federal government, Big Brother, the state. Nothing else can stand in your way. You must have allegiance to the state above all else, even before this fictional God that you want to worship. That's the radical left playbook. The people must rely on nothing but the state. According to the radical liberal playbook, chaos, crisis, leading people to dependency upon the state is the fastest way to break down, to fundamentally transform the American Republic through chaos and crisis. Look, since the first day Biden took office, you can all see this. As I say all the time, evidence of the obvious is sufficient. Look at what they have done. It has been nothing but chaos and crisis. Tim Walz in his state of Minnesota, crisis and chaos. Minneapolis, allowing it to burn for 3 days before taking action, because they know that chaos and crisis drives people to dependency upon the state. And it breaks down America. Americans feel as if they need the big government. And it breaks down the sense of community. You know, in Florida, I'm off script here for a minute because this has just happened today. There are people in this country who happen to be pilots, who own small aircraft, including helicopters, that can get in and out of these areas of devastation with supplies or to get people out and rescue them. You know that the Harris-Biden administration has abjectly refused anyone to do this, and in fact has threatened them if they do attempt to rescue or to provide aid to people within their communities, they will be arrested. I'm not making this up. This is exactly how they behave. This is what they're doing, preventing. It's because that stands in the way of the state. We can't have good Samaritans providing services and relief and rescue efforts. Stands in the way of the dependency that we want to the state. No. We will have no community, and it's infuriating. It's immoral. Again, I put it to you. They are a coalition of immorality. This communist-socialist, formerly known as Democrat Party, not an American political party, and definitely a coalition of immorality. How dare they do that? How dare they prevent fellow Americans from rescuing and coming to the aid of other Americans in their own country? But again, it's what they want. The fundamental transformation. You can't have dependency on anything but the state. And since we know that President Trump stands in their way of their ultimate goal of a breakdown of this republic and a rescuing, if you will, the radical left movement in America has been working overtime to speak and to accelerate, to try to implement faster fundamental transformation of this republic away from the divine providence of God, from the intent of the founding fathers, and away from the influence of Donald Trump. Because they want to destroy America. They want to destroy it first and then build back better in their radical liberal image, what they believe America should be. And the radical liberal media are complicit in all of this, but they're having meltdowns today and this week throughout the country, because we are on to them, and because of what they saw on Tuesday night, of course, with JD Vance. They know that an entire new wave of independent and undecided voters are moving towards President Trump. And I'm going to tell you exactly why, who, and how that is. Multiple millions of people now, because of Tuesday, coming towards Trump. All right, we're up against a break. Stay with me, and don't forget, after the program, head over to DougBillings.us. DougBillings.us. Please click on the Donate tab and consider setting up, prayerfully so, a recurring monthly donation so that I can continue to bring you the program free of charge. Stay with me. Ladies and gentlemen, much more to come about the hope that is out there. I'll be right back. Cheers.
Hello, I'm Brandon House. Hey, consider going to MyPillow.com right now and get your pet a pet bed, just like my beloved Delta has right here in my office. Not only can you get pet beds, but you can get sheets, towels, blankets, and so much more. Slippers, sandals, robes, beach towels. It just goes on and on. But please, go to MyPillow.com and be sure to use the promo code B66. When you do, not only will you receive savings, but a generous percentage of each purchase comes back to continue supporting this 24/7 free broadcast outlet. We need your support. Hey, look, we're entrepreneurs, just like my friend Mike Lindell. We all need your support, and you're getting quality products at the same time. So please, go to MyPillow.com and use the promo code B66. Mike always has amazing specials going right there at MyPillow. So check out whatever those specials might be today. You never know, Mike's always changing it up and making new offers right there at MyPillow.com. But be sure to use the promo code B66.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the set of my show, coming to you, as I always do, from smack dab in the middle of the fruited plain. And I want to talk to you about EMP, electromagnetic pulse. Now, these things can happen from the sun in nature and naturally, but they can also happen through man-made devices made by people who don't like us very much. And thanks to Kamala Harris, our failed border czar, we've got millions of people in this country who don't like us. Thank you very much, Kamala. Well, EMP Shield is a device like this one here that hooks up to your breaker box in your home, and it prevents your home and your electrical system from being fried in case of an electromagnetic pulse. There's a smaller version that you can put on the battery of your vehicle, so it is also protected. So head over to EMPShield.com, promo code Doug, ladies and gentlemen, EMPShield.com, promo code Doug. Believe it. for the Republic. Cheers.
The Right Side with Doug Billings.
Doug Billings, driving the left crazy with the truth.
We endeavor to recover the Republic from the radical liberal movement here in America. And talking today about this, the seismic shift that we're seeing in the campaign and the thought of American people about these two candidates that we have and the philosophies, the platform, and the politics that they represent. JD Vance this week was absolutely brilliant. He destroyed and really dissected Tim Walz right there on live television in front of us. It was good for everyone involved. The radical left having meltdowns about this, and I'm trying to get at what is, behind the scenes, so to speak, behind this tsunami of just the wow factor when it comes to Vance that millions of people saw because they really didn't know the guy that well, but now they do. And so here is where we are. There's an entire new wave of people, especially I'm talking about people who are, who view themselves as independent voters or undecided voters. Because of that debate, my friends, there has been a seismic shift. I'm going to talk about how these people are coming over to our side, but I also want to tell you and show you how the radical left is trying to spin this and to diminish what we saw from JD Vance on Tuesday night. There's a montage, a clip here I want to show you that will capture the reactions, the head explosions, if you will, of the radical left. The clip itself speaks for itself. I'm going to talk about it, though, when we get back. Reagan, let's play clip number one.
And I actually think if you're a woman, that might be the worst moment JD Vance had, because he was going to mansplain right over that mute button. He was, and again, I don't pretend to know how everyone will react to this. I think that a lot of women in positions of authority that should command respect just by virtue of that dynamic will see themselves in some dude that disrespected them and talked over. I mean, there was a moment like that with the vice presidential in the Harris-Pence debate.
That one of these candidates is much slicker than the other, is a much more practiced kind of professional debate style speaker, and the other candidate won. There was one bad moment for Tim Walz in this debate where he got mixed up and embarrassed in answering a question about exactly what month he had been in China in relation to the Tiananmen Square protest.
It seems to me if the goal is to make Tim Walz your neighbor, your Midwest neighbor, right, a nice guy, actually, despite all the things we're saying this morning, it's mission accomplished, and Tim Walz got exactly what he needed out of this, and so did Kamala Harris.
We've talked about this a little bit when we were sitting over there waiting. I think Tim Walz is one of the best communicators out there in Democratic politics, and he propelled himself onto the ticket because he is such an effective, good.
Okay. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you have not already learned this from watching this program and hearing me say it several times, let me remind you, these legacy media talking heads, such as whom you've just seen in this clip, every one of them and all of the others, they are under orders. Be clear about this. This is not me making up some story, this is the truth. They are under orders as to what they can say. And their orders come from the radical liberal hierarchy. I mean, as far up as Obama, Clinton, Pelosi, and Schumer themselves. These people who are in this clip are not expressing their own thoughts, their own opinions. They are following orders. And the orders include an assembly line of not only manufactured and fake enthusiasm for Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, but also an assembly line of lies. The talking heads have no escape from their own intellectual immaturity. They are plagued by it. And they have no escape from the lies that they are weaving and being forced to tell us from their side because of the orders that have come down from on high from this radical liberal hierarchy, this chain of command. JD Vance absolutely destroyed Tim Walz in that debate and brilliantly countermeasured those female moderators who broke their own rules and began to fact check JD Vance. And because no one can question his brilliance, no one can question his eloquence, his articulation, no one can question that he was calm, cool, and collected, and he was polite. No one can demean any of that. And I'm, of course, talking about Vance. The female anchor then, in the clip that we just saw, that first female anchor diverts and resorts to the term mansplaining. Well, how dare him? How dare JD Vance be a man? He's trying to mansplain over these female moderators, the fact-checking, in attempt to demean and diminish JD Vance mansplaining. Now, look, this is typical. This is what liberals do, and it's hilarious on multiple levels. It's also pathetic. But they are so plagued by not only their intellectual immaturity, but they're plagued by Trump derangement syndrome, quite frankly, that it drives them over the edge when someone on Trump's team, especially his vice presidential candidate, who openly on national television, how dare he do this on national television? He calls out, articulates, and demolishes two female moderators on fact-checking issues. Vance was right about the issue that they were talking about when they were fact-checking, the Haitian legal status that Kamala Harris has granted the Haitian immigrants. 170,000 people granted immunity from persecution or prosecution and just invited to come on in. Illegal immigrants. And Vance was right. And these moderators were trying to challenge him on this. And you know me, we're not coming down on them because they're female. We're coming down on them because they were wrong. But the radical left, who on the one hand want to have equality for women, and women are equal and can sit at the same table, they want all of that, but the minute you give them equality, and the minute that you start to challenge them, push back on them, or tell them that they're wrong, and point out how and why they're wrong, oh, no. Now you're being abrasive. Now you're being sexist and misogynistic, and now you're out of line. We're not talking about that equality. No, forget it. What they're saying is JD Vance can't attack women moderators about inaccurate fact-checking. How dare he? How dare he challenge one of us, women? How dare they challenge and beat us up? That's them trying to take him down. It's the liberal mindset. We all see it. We all see it. It's laughable. The radical left has nothing of any intellectual sustenance regarding anything good about the debate performance of Tim Walz, so they have to come after, of course, Vance. So they actually begin to talk about, what do? How do you do it? Well, we saw, mansplaining, how dare he? Well, today on social media, now they're attacking, and you can't make this stuff up. They're attacking JD Vance's beard. Ladies and gentlemen, that's right. I'm not kidding you. Politico, a propaganda publication, actually suggested on social media today that JD Vance's beard is an example of toxic masculinity, ladies and gentlemen. Toxic masculinity. What? And then, they got JD Vance's beard, toxic masculinity. And then you've got Tim Walz's gaping eyes, the whole deer in the headlight thing that we saw from Tim Walz that night. Those eyes of Tim Walz demonstrates passion, ladies and gentlemen, according to Politico. So the beard is toxic masculinity, and the gaping wide open eyes of Walz is passion. And so beyond the hilarity and the absurdity of those statements, what's behind them, though, is a very real agenda item of the radical left. And that agenda item is the wussification of American men. That's what the radical left wants. They've wanted it since the feminist movement was born in the late 1950s. It's no secret that the radical left movement in America, and in fact around the world, has sought for decades a tearing down of masculinity, an attack on men, white men specifically, white privilege, all of that nonsense, right? And they come to the defense of what I call their poster man in this debate. That's what we're seeing these talking heads doing in that montage that I showed you. They are coming to the defense of their poster man. Poster man, what do you mean? Poster man of what? Folks, Tim Walz is the poster man of the wussification of the American male. Look at him, jazz hand waving, skipping across the stage. I mean, feminism, feminist, wussification, Tim Walz. And that is not what the radical left can have. JD Vance represents the traditional American man. The camera loves him. He's got those big, beautiful baby blues. The ladies dig him, folks, and it's okay. That's okay to say. It's true. And the radical left will have conniption fits and have spasms because they can't handle that. His beard is toxic masculinity, but Tim Walz, his gaping eyes and his utter incompetence. Oh, no, that's passion. That's how we define passion, ladies and gentlemen. But also, someone else who represents the traditional American man is President Trump. Absolutely so. It's the reason everyone across the board, after we saw that first assassination attempt, everyone, no matter what side of the aisle you're on, when he was shot and he gets knocked down and he gets back up and he raises his fist in the air yelling, "Fight, fight, fight." And although people may not articulate it this way, what they recognized then was a real American man. And they loved that. That's what we want. We don't want the radical left agenda of this wussification of men in America. Traditional American men are not a product of the past. We are here, and it's represented in Trump and in Vance and what they represent in their conservative MAGA message. And all Americans, except for the minute few, want that. All right, up against another break. Ladies and gentlemen, don't forget DougBillings.us. Please head over there. I'm in a membership sponsorship drive. I'm fan funded, if you will. People funded. Head over there and prayerfully consider a recurring monthly donation to the DougBillings.us website so I can continue to bring you the show for free. We're in this together. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll be right back for some closing thoughts and commentary right after this break. Stay with me. Cheers.
Hello, I'm Brandon House. Melissa and I have been taking Bella Grace, this powerful elixir, since last fall, 2023. The results have been amazing. My hands would crack and bleed, deep cuts and cracks every winter for years. No matter what we did, we couldn't get them to stop cracking and bleeding. This year, I took Bella Grace, no cracking, no bleeding. My acid reflux, gone. Haven't had to take a Pepsid. My hair growth, the last 2 times I had my hair cut, the lady had to use thinning shears on my hair. That's amazing. We've also received incredible feedback from you, our listening audience, and the impact it's had for you. This is loaded with astaxanthin. That's a powerful antioxidant. Collagen, but top grade collagen. Studies show 95% of it is being absorbed in the body because of the way they develop it. Then we have something called cat's claw. That's an anti-inflammatory from a vine in Peru. It's the bark, and it's an anti-inflammatory. There are about 80 clinical trials on Bella Grace. Please get a subscription now and save. MelissaHousebg.com.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the set of my show, The Right Side. Hey, want to tell you about beef. Doug's Beef, DougsBeef.com. This is not your ordinary beef. This is prepper beef. If you want to have a supply of protein on hand, I'm talking ribeye, strip steaks, Kansas City and New York strip, and T-bones as well. Doug's Beef, ladies and gentlemen, check it out. Comes to you in freeze-dried packets, shelf life of 25 years. And when you cook this stuff up, I'm telling you, I wouldn't sell it if it wasn't delicious. Awesome stuff. DougsBeef.com. Head over there, take a look at all of the inventory, and stock your shelves with protein, with good tasting stuff. DougsBeef.com, ladies and gentlemen. Check it out. There's the beef. Believe it. For the Republic. Cheers.
The Right Side with Doug Billings.
Hello, I'm Brandon House. Is the government tracking you? Do they have access to all your data? Well, if you go to worldviewtalk.com, you'll find out about a cell phone company that, well, does not store your data. They don't do that. This is what they're known for. They don't store your data. You have privacy. You're not being tracked. That's why a lot of folks are turning to worldviewtalk.com. You'll find their prices are very competitive. All the details are there at worldviewtalk.com. Again, worldviewtalk.com. Oh, while you're there, not only do they have cell phones that aren't tracking you, you can find out about how to get a satellite phone. Should the whole system go down and you want to communicate with a family member or a loved one, you might want to have a satellite phone. Or how about their solar generators? They have great solar generators. Check them all out right now. Worldviewtalk.com, worldviewtalk.com.
Doug Billings reminding you that conservatives are better looking than liberals.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to The Right Side with Doug Billings. Hey, I take a lot of joy in not only coming to you every day here on the program, but to point out the intellectual immaturity of liberals. I live for it, love it, and there's plenty of it. So we talked about today, we have great hope. Look, if anything, I'm an informed, educated optimist. It's not just optimism for optimism's sake, but we have a lot of reasons to be hopeful. We have good trends going on now in this nation and in this country. People of America waking up in vast numbers, millions of people seeing the devastation that has been brought about, the radical liberal policies that has been cascaded, purposefully so, by the way, on us by this radical left party, this, as I call them, the Communist Socialist Party, formerly known as Democrat, right? They are purposefully cascading chaos and crisis down upon us because they believe that will drive us towards the arms of big government. They want to tear down communities. Talked about how they are forbidding people, citizens in this country, to go rescue and help other people. It's crazy. But we also understand that we are under attack. The traditional way of American life is under attack because they want to fundamentally transform America. And we can't let those words go unnoticed. When they say these things, they think that they sound so pleasant and they're so catchy. You know, we want to fundamentally transform America, or we want to build back better. There's nothing patriotic about either of those sentiments, of either of those mottos. In fact, you cannot be an American patriot and claim that America needs to be fundamentally transformed. It's impossible. America, inspired by God, our founding documents inspired by God, written by men, we do not need her to be fundamentally transformed. She's fine just the way the founders intended and God's divine providence revealed. It's good. We just need to get back to managing her the way they intended it to be done. But beware, the radical left is coming, and they won't slow down until we take our place as the majority within the republic as far as leadership. That's why I talk to you almost daily about the importance of local involvement in the counties in which you live. And again, forget Washington, D.C. When they see people like President Trump and JD Vance, they know that represents the traditional American values, the traditional American identity, if you will. And that's what they want to dilute. That's what they want to destroy. The radical left does. And it's part of the reason why, for example, they've created this border crisis. Because when you let in multiple dozens of millions of illegal immigrants into this nation, into any nation, what does it do? Well, there's two key reasons and outcomes. One is that it dilutes the identity of the country, right? It's happening in Germany, France, Spain, Italy. Your identity as a nation is wiped out. And that's what the radical left want in this country. They want the identity of America to be diluted, if not deleted altogether. And then two, secondarily, and it's getting a lot of news today, these illegals. And by the way, this is not an ego statement, what I'm about ready to tell you. I have said since February of 2021, a month after Administrator Biden was given the presidency, and he began to pull back and delete and destroy all of President Trump's border safe measures and the security of our borders. I said to you, the reason they're doing this, the reason they're doing it is because they want these people to become their new electoral base. That's the cheat, because people would always ask in those days, and they still ask, what do you think they're going to do? They stole it in 2020. What are they going to do in 2024? What is the cheat? Well, here it is. We're seeing it play out. And I told you in February of 2021, it's these illegal immigrants. That's their cheat. Let them in illegally and give them the right to vote illegally. That's the cheat. And here it is. And it's playing out. So the mass deportations must happen, folks. They must happen. And there can be no quarter. It does not matter if people who have come over here illegally are decent, law-abiding citizens. If they've come over here illegally, they must go back. Oh, but you're going to separate children and mothers and fathers from their babies. No, we're not. Babies and children, go with them. Go back to your home country and then get in line and do it the right way. I mean, it's got to be our approach. Not to be cold-hearted, but you cannot be a criminal. You can't be a good person and be a criminal. So these will all be addressed. This will all be addressed. But my point being that people, by the multiple millions, are realizing this mess. And they're trending towards Trump in big numbers. And now that they've seen JD Vance in action, even more so, and especially those undecided and independent voters who may not like President Trump all that much. Hard to believe, but maybe so. Maybe that's out there. I don't like him that much. I don't like his tweets. I don't like his personality. But they're going, wow, JD Vance, impressive. These are the independents and undecideds, right? Maybe I can put up with Trump for 4 more years, because if Vance is the guy, now that's a guy I can get behind. And that's a guy I can support. And that's the reason you have vice presidential candidates who are appealing to people, because you know there's got to be a succession plan. Trump knows this. Who's going to succeed him? JD Vance is the standard bearer now. And folks, it's not Ron DeSantis. We'll begin to talk about that at the proper time. JD Vance is the standard bearer for the 2024 vice presidential candidate spot, but then also in 2028 and 2032 for the Republican conservative presidential candidate. JD Vance, he did it well, and liberals around the country are absolutely besides themselves. It's sheer panic. The Harris campaign with Helene and everything, the lack of response, the debacle, again, everything they touch, the withdrawal in Afghanistan, Helene here now, and everything else in between, catastrophe, chaos and crisis. I put it to you. We're on a good path. We're on a good trend. Don't become complacent. Keep on working and doing exactly what you are doing. Because, folks, you are winning. And I'm so proud of you. You are reclaiming the republic from the grip of the radical left commune socialist, formerly known as Democrat Party. I tip my hat to all of you. All right, I'll see you again tomorrow night, ladies and gentlemen. Again, please, before I go, let me remind you, DougBillings.us. Please head over there and prayerfully consider setting up a recurring monthly donation so that I can continue to bring you the program for free. I never charge you. But I would ask that you prayerfully head over there to DougBillings.us and set up that monthly recurring donation. It would mean a lot to me, so I can continue to do this and be with you. All right, that's all. A special thanks also to the good people at worldviewtube.com. Be sure that you go over there, worldviewtube.com, and check out their content. It's incredible. Good stuff. You'll want to make sure that you do. All right, God bless you, ladies and gentlemen. I'll see you tomorrow. For the Republic. Believe it. Cheers.